It has been 2 years and 8 months since Xiaomi Mi 11 Lite 5G NE went official in the Philippines. And if you happen to be considering a used condition in 2024, yes, it's still a good phone today, but like other phones or gadgets, it gets harder to recommend as it ages, especially when you consider what's on the market right now if you save up a little more. This Mi 11 Lite 5G NE is the same phone we reviewed a few years ago. It became my mother's main phone for 2 years after she upgraded to a new phone. Before letting this phone go, I used it as my main Android phone for several weeks. In this video, I'm going to discuss my experience now it's running HyperOS with Android 14, as well as the physical beating it took from wear and tear for the last 2 years. As usual, we're going to start with the design. As you can see, there are a lot of scuffs and dents all around the frame, considering this phone stayed in the case the majority of the time. While plastic is more susceptible to scratches and dents, something worth noting here is the power button/fingerprint scanner. The scanner still works and it's still as fast, but the plastic component inside that pushes back the button back has been damaged to the point where the power button gets stuck when you press it. You can still scrape the button with your fingernails or anything that could slip between the gaps to kinda dislodge it a little bit, but then again, you need to be more careful of fully pressing the power button. I also searched through forums regarding the power button giving out after a few years, and it appeared to be common for this phone. The good thing is, Xiaomi service centers still repair an old model for around 700 pesos or around $12 US. Unlike the frame, the glass back of this phone remained clean and with no visible scratches or dings. One of the best advantages of glass back in phones is it's more durable against scratches. Even the camera module in the frame almost look flawless. Of course, the same applies to the glass on the front, which was protected with tempered glass. Speaking of the display, this 6.55 inches AMOLED panel was one of the best panels out there when it came out, and that's because of the Dolby Vision playback support and the support for over 1 billion colors. Sure, 90Hz wasn't as smooth as the 120Hz, but it was integral in keeping the battery life in check since this phone only housed a 4250 mAh cell. Using this phone for several weeks, I noticed immediately the lack of sharpness of the screen compared to newer phones with higher resolution. 1080p on a small phone is still okay and all, but other phones that come with 1200p are noticeably sharper and better, at least to my eyes. While the 6.55 inches diagonal size of this panel remains relatively compact, the slight boost in resolution still makes a difference in perceived sharpness. However, that's not to say that this is a bad panel already. It's just not up to par, and that's expected and okay. Oh yeah, and what about burn-in? I'm glad to report there's no single burn-in even after nearly 3 years, a testament to Xiaomi's commitment when it comes to quality. As far as the battery goes, I don't know the exact battery cycle this phone has, but it's obvious that it has taken a hit. I mean, hitting 4 hours of screen time in medium use and barely reaching 5 hours when streaming videos make this phone below average by today's standards. Expect 1 to 2 times of charging in a day if you're a medium to heavy user. But if you're willing to replace the battery with a new one for a price, you may get significantly longer runtimes. Now, for the performance. The Snapdragon 778G paired with 8GB of RAM remains a solid combo for this phone. I have not noticed any slowdowns or stutters when it comes to regular tasks like browsing and streaming 4K videos in the foreground while scrolling through a social media app. That's how good the chipset is, especially when this phone came out with Android 11 and has supported Android 14 to this day. I expect this to be the last major software update from Xiaomi, but if they manage to even push out Android 15 to this phone, I would be more than impressed. As I said, this is running HyperOS and it has new features like the dynamic lock screen, the new Mi Sans font, and they even added log video recording for video enthusiasts. Gaming is going to be a different story. This can still play old title games with no problem, but if you expect Warzone Mobile or Wuthering Waves to run smoothly here, this is not for you. I guess the most interesting part of all this is how the camera aged. Did Xiaomi push enough software updates to compensate for the aging hardware? Well, the answer to that is no. The quality I get from the 64 megapixel main camera is okay. At this point, having tested newer phones, I am getting okay photos and videos with this phone. The 64 megapixel main sensor, despite all the resolution it offers, looks a bit soft and over-sharpened by today's standards. You can easily fix this by shooting in full 64 megapixel mode, which I highly recommend if you want the best quality, because even HDR in regular photo mode looks lacking most of the time, especially in the highlights. The camera tends to blow out highlights to save details in the shadows. There are times when photos look good, but there are times they don't. It seems to me the camera processing has become inconsistent over time. Additionally, the colors look like they have extra saturation, so that might put off some of you who want natural looking photos. The 8 megapixel ultrawide is no different, but compared to newer phones with ultrawide cameras, I can say the smartphone industry has not made an effort to improve this camera segment in mid-range phones. The video quality doesn't hold a candle against newer phones, especially with stabilization. Regardless if it's 1080p or 4K, stabilization is janky, so you need a gimbal to compensate, but again, it's still serviceable. As far as recommending the Mi 11 Lite 5G NE in 2024, it's tough. A lot has changed since 2021. I wouldn't recommend it if you're looking for a camera-centric phone. But if you want something reliable as far as smooth and stable performance for work or daily communication, this may be still worth buying. But that's it for this one. Drop a sub or like if you feel like supporting the channel. And as always, until the next one, stay safe.